The investigation into the Army top brass from Congress continues with the House today, so we'll talk just a bit about that. There aren't as many fireworks on the House side, so it's not going to be near as exciting as the Senate hearings, but we will still talk about what was going on with that as well. In other news, Manchin and Sinema continue to be on the forefront talking about the spending bill. Today is the day that the government runs out of money, by the way. So we'll probably touch just briefly on that as well. In other news, Dollar Tree breaks the dollar barrier as costs really start to dig into them, and now they've got to start raising their prices just like everybody else. So we'll talk just a bit about that. And a gubernatorial candidate in Virginia says parents should not control what their children learn. Well, there's a song that we heard about way back a few months ago while I was on vacation, and we're going to use that to talk about what's going on here. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, 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 do you trust the plan yet? I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Ed Heads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got another packed day to get to today. I still want to try and stay on with some of the timing that we did yesterday, but you know, we got a lot to get to today. We're going to go through all of it here. Oh my God, it's going to be a whole thing today. Not as much video. I mean, yesterday we were really video heavy, especially in the beginning because we were talking about the Miller thing. Not as much video today, but we're still going to get through it all, and we're going to talk about it. And yeah, we'll get through it all. But before we get started, I do want to make sure you guys are going over and checking out the new project that we are currently in the process of building. The domains have been bought. The members have been contacted. Everybody knows that this is coming up. And I am, of course, talking about TurnSomePagesProductions.com. That is going to be coming down in the near future. We are looking for donations right now. People getting ready to get in at the bottom of the Kickstarter that we are putting together to try and get this whole thing done off right. We don't want a bunch of broken plugins. We don't want a bunch of non-working websites or pages or links or anything like that. We want something that's done right. So I have gone out and contracted through a very talented web developer who believes in the cause. This is not going to be a page that's going to get taken down because we're being too free. So go and check that out. That is TurnSomePagesProductions.com. where you will, in the future, be able to see great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, and The Freckles and Brit Show. Brit, who will be on The Red Net Show coming up here in the coming week. So also go and check that out. Go check out all of those programs in the meantime. And if you could find it in your heart, go and check out the GoFundMe. We have it up here. I will get the link into the chat for you guys. There we go. $400 raised out of the $2,000 goal. We are a fifth of the way there for our goal. So go and check that out. It's going to be a great time. Let me get the link up here for you guys. And I mean, our two donors we've had so far have been very, 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 very generous. I'm actually quite excited to see this, but even a $5 every once in a while will really help us out. So if you guys want to do that, go ahead, check that out. Check the link out in the chat. A $5, a $10, a $1. A $1 will help us get to the goal that we need, and all donors will have mention at the top of the page as well. It's just so, I mean, if you want to be mentioned, if you want to stay anonymous, that's fine too. But if you want to be mentioned, you'll get a special thank you on the page for helping get this page started. So that's what we see coming up out of that. Thank you very much for any help in advance, and thanks for checking out the website. All right, let's start in with the markets today. The markets were up yesterday. Looks like the Dow went up 0.25%. 34,390.72 is where it closed off of that, which is a little surprising given the fact that the government shutdown always weighs on the markets before. But I'm also looking at some investors that looked at some of these growth plays and said, this looks like this is on sale. I could probably get this stock for cheap and then make a profit off it somewhere down the line. So there's probably some of that too. Some of this bottom trading we'll see here. And also keep in mind, we're 2 weeks away from the debt ceiling expiring too, and I don't know if the news is going to push us in that direction. I don't have anything on that today, but I am going to make a deliberate attempt to pay more attention to that as well, just so you guys can see what's going to happen, because supposedly this is going to cost us 16,000 jobs as we go. Alright, let's get into the Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin is on a slight uptick as well, almost to 43,000 US dollars, 42,997 US dollars and 20 US cents. So those of you who got a little bit on the 41,000 mark are already seeing a little bit of a return. If you're into crypto, it's still what I would consider to be on sale right now. So if that's the kind of thing that you want, go ahead and pick some of that up. Now is going to be a prime time to do so. And if you're not into that kind of thing, I'm sure gold will be more your speed. Your scrap metal prices, speaking of gold, your copper is continuing on its downtrend. Steel has turned back around, going back onto an uptrend. And then aluminum has gone onto a downtrend on average. I'll break this down a little bit further. Copper tubing number 2 is up, but all your other copper plays are down. Looks like almost everything steel except for cast iron is down. Cast iron is up slightly. And aluminum cans, aluminum rims are both up. Other than that, aluminum is also taking... Oh, and aluminum siding is up too, but aluminum otherwise is taking another sharp drop. So hold on to those cans for a little bit while longer, because the price may go up just a bit again. All right, let's see what IBD has to say here. Dow Jones Futures signal market rally. Congress set to vote on government shutdown. From Ed Carson. They're not voting on a government shutdown. They're voting on whether or not to approve the funding package. That is such a disingenuous fucking line right there. That headline right there. Congress set to vote on government shutdown. You disingenuous fucking bitch. That's not what they're voting on. They're voting on whether they can accept a funding package that has a debt ceiling hike in it, or whether they will allow these federal workers to go home. Wow. This is the propaganda that you're getting off of this, because they want to make sure they shield the old man away from this. It's got to be Mitch McConnell's fault. It can't be Joe Biden's fault, because Mitch McConnell has an R next to his name and he's evil. From Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures rose Thursday morning, along with S&P 500 Futures and advertisements. And NASDAQ Futures, with Congress likely to keep the government open. A stock market rally rebound fizzled on Wednesday, with the major indices giving up early gains and the NASDAQ undercutting recent lows. A few leaders, such as Tesla stock, held up, but chip stocks and many other growth leaders continued to struggle. Treasury yields erased morning losses to close slightly higher on Wednesday. The dollar continues to climb to its best levels in a year. Congress looks set to extend government funding today to avoid a government shutdown. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi hinted she may delay today's vote in a bipartisan infrastructure deal as she struggles to satisfy different wings of the Democratic Party. Growth stocks continue to struggle, with ASML. And that's not ASMR, by the way. No ASMR here. ASML, Snap, Generac, Advanced Micro Devices, Palantir, Digital Turbine, and Nvidia are all showing disappointing action. ASML stock sank 3.8% a day after gapping down 6.6% to below its 50-day line. AMD stock briefly tried to rally after Tuesday's big loss, but faded for its worst close since the July 28th breakout day. Nvidia stock hit resistance at its 50-day and retreated slightly. Snap stock tried to rebound from its 50-day line, but reversed to close below that level, down 3.7%. Palantir stock sank 3.2% below its 50-day line and 200-day lines after tumbling 7.75% Tuesday to undercut a buy point. APPS stock, that's Digital Turbine, fell 3.4% after Tuesday's 6.9% loss, just above the 200-day line, which served as an aggressive entry a week earlier. Generac fell 4.4%, one of the biggest S&P 500 losers, Wednesday night closing decisively below the 50-day line. Generac forecast Full-year sales slightly below analyst estimates, the generator and technology storage leader, also guided low on fiscal 2024 revenue. On the upside, Tesla edged up 0.5% to 781.31, holding above 764.55 buy point. Several less flashy auto plays also did well. Auto parts retailers AutoZone and O'Reilly are in a buy range. KMX stock and AutoNation rose in buy zones, with CarMax reporting earnings early Thursday, but CarMax missed earnings estimates early Thursday, with shares falling sharply. Tesla, Snap, Nvidia, Generac, and AMD are on the IBD leaderboard. Though Snap's position was trimmed Wednesday, AutoNation stock was added to Swing Trader. On Wednesday, Snap and AutoNation are on the IBD 50. AZO was IBD's stock of the day. The Senate is planning to vote on a stopgap government funding bill without a debt limit extension. On Thursday, September 30th, Senate Republicans on Monday night rejected a funding bill that included a debt limit increase, but they've signaled that they would go along with a clean funding bill, avoiding a partial government shutdown after Thursday. The House is likely to quickly okay the Senate legislation. Congress still would need to raise the debt limit to avoid a government default by October 18th, according to the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. The House Wednesday evening voted to suspend the debt limit, the measure doomed to Senate defeat. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi hinted that she may delay a vote on the trillion-dollar infrastructure bill, though she said Wednesday night the plan was to stick to Thursday. The vote, originally set for Monday, was pushed back recently. Progressives are threatening to vote down the bipartisan infrastructure deal without substantial progress on partisan reconciliation bill. Centrist Democrats are balking at the size of that tax and spending package, even when a price tag for the reconciliation package is agreed upon. It could take weeks to craft legislation. Wait, so they don't already fucking know what's in this thing? They have to craft it, they just know the number? No, fuck that! Really? Fuck that! What the fuck? Are you serious? Why do we let these people spend our money? Oh, we just want $3.5 trillion to spend. We don't know what it's going to be in, but we want $3.5 trillion, and we'll tell our progressive neoliberal Democrat supporters out here that yes, we have an idea what this is. It's going to be healthcare. It's going to be this. No, they actually have to craft legislation. No, fuck that. Fuck that. Seriously. Ultimately, Congress will likely pass the infrastructure bill and a sizable reconciliation package, but there is a less than zero chance that neither will get through. On your futures, the Dow futures rose 0.4% versus fair value, S&P 500 futures advanced 0.4%, and NASDAQ 100 futures climbed 0.4%. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 1 basis point to 1.53%. Dow Jones component Merck will buy Acceleron for $11.5 billion or $180 a share to bolster its rare disease efforts. That was in line with Tuesday reports and comes after several days of Acceleron stock rushing higher on a deal buzz. The official China Manufacturing Index fell a half point in September to 49.6, signaling a slight contraction. Economists expected a break-even 50 reading, but the services gauge rebounded to 53.2 from August 47.5. However, the private cakes and factory gauge rose 0.8 points to 50 in September versus views for 49.5. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. That was certainly the case on Wednesday when Dow futures were solid in the early morning, with NASDAQ 100 futures up more than 1% at one point. A lot of information there, a lot of stuff going on with that, but yeah, it looks like they are going to keep the government open. Lame. But we're still going to have the fight over the debt ceiling, and I still think that Democrats are going to be forced to blow their load on the budget reconciliation to get the debt ceiling done, and have to wait on the $3.5 trillion bill. Alright, that's what we see going on there. Let's grab one briefly from Market Watch. A professor who called Dow 20,000 says he's nervous about trends in inflation that could spark a stock market correction. From Mark DeCamber. Jeremy Siegel, professor of finance at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, said Wednesday that a fresh surge in inflation is making him nervous and warned that accelerating pricing pressures could compel the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates at a faster clip than currently anticipated, which could deliver a correction to equity benchmarks. The Wharton professor, credited with calling Dow 20,000 in 2015, told CNBC during a Wednesday interview he is nervous about the trends I see in inflation currently. The academic's comments came as Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell on Wednesday said a bout of high U.S. inflation could be prolonged into early next year because parts and material shortages might be getting worse. Parts of the financial market are undergoing big price surges, including natural gas futures, which surged 11% on Monday, reaching levels not seen since 2014 amid tight U.S. supplies and strengthening demand across the globe. It's frustrating to see the supply chains problems not getting better. In fact, they're probably getting worse, Powell said during a virtual forum with other central bank leaders, including those from the European Central Bank. It's very difficult to see how big the effects will be in the meantime and how long they will last. The rate of inflation in the U.S. using the Fed's preferred personal consumption expenditures price index rose at a 4.2% pace in the 12 months ended in July. That is the fastest increase in 30 years. That puts us all the way back to 1991 when we were paying for another war that was started by a fucking Bush. Inflation is running even hotter based on the better-known Consumer Price Index, a measure of average prices paid by consumers for a common basket of goods and services that serves as a barometer of economic health. Yes, all of this. We're seeing all this run away, and people are giving up on some of their assets, some of their stocks, some of their bonds, their stuff like that, in order to make sure that they can keep putting food on the table for themselves and their families. I've been there. I've sold off savings bonds to make my truck payment when I was at some of my poorest points. And I've had some of those. I've sold them off before maturity to try and make sure that I could still make the truck payment or make the rent payment or something else like that. It happens. And you're going to see a lot of that too. And honestly, I know that a lot of the libertarian types will try to tell you that, well, when the economy goes down in tanks, we're all going to survive on Bitcoin. Here's the reality. There are very few places you can spend Bitcoin. This isn't going to be like Mr. Robot, where they crash the economy, they tank the E-Corp, but now E-Coin is the preferred method of currency. That's not what's going to be. Like Ron says, if you can't hold it or mold it, you should have already sold it. And that's what it's going to be. They will turn that Bitcoin that they have over into cash as quickly as they can if they start running out of the ability to feed their families, because you can take that legal tender, however worthless it is, however hyperinflated it is, you can take that legal tender and hand it to a store clerk, whether it's, $1 or a stack of dollars like this that you have to hold a wheelbarrow to carry. You can take that legal tender, hand it over to a store clerk, and get food in exchange. Once again, the amount of food, that's beside the point. We can have that argument another day. So yeah, once the shit starts hitting the fan, that Bitcoin price is going to drop, even though it's glowing in and of itself, and a lot of bigger firms are going to be the ones that are buying it back up, and that's going to basically be the trading medium for big business. That's still going to be, because your individual investors are going to look at this and say, I can hold my Bitcoin forever, or I can eat. That's what's going to be. But that's what we see coming out of this, and yeah, it's going to be the same thing in stocks, and that's where this guy is predicting a major correction, because once again, when it comes time to start deciding about whether or not to feed the family, people are going to start taking, especially their 401ks. They're going to look in their 401ks and say, fuck that, I need that extra little bit of cash out of my paycheck. I can't do the contribution right now, I need that extra little bit of cash. So I'm not going to put anything more into the 401k, and then those stocks are going to sell off, or the stocks that they have are going to sell off because, once again, trying to get it for currency. But that's what we're seeing coming out of the markets here. Let's get into the main topics of the day. Before we do that, though, I had one video I wanted to share with you guys, which now that we're all the way to the end of there, you have already seen it, but let's drop the music here and let's see what's going on down here in Florida. Florida Man video. Florida Man.
going inside. Let me know. Somebody let me know the hand. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
That was impressive. I'm not going to lie. That was impressive. I am thoroughly impressed by that one. Wow. Let's watch that again. And he's in. Pick it up. Florida man! Well, that was cool. I'm not going to lie, that was really cool. Alright, let's keep going here, and we are going to start the day with our friends over at NPR, National Progressive Radio, never printing reality. House hearing will pick up where Senate panel left off on Afghan withdrawal. We have no author given here, but this was heard on Morning Edition, and Morning Edition needs you to donate. They need your money because they need to spread the communist ideals around the country. More so than anybody else in the world. Remember, comrade, it's not your money, it's our money. Send it over, NPR, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. NPR's Noel King speaks to GOP Rep. Mike Waltz of Florida, a member of the House Armed Services Committee and a veteran of Afghanistan, about Wednesday's House hearing on the Afghan withdrawal. Here's the transcript. Noel King. With us now is Republican Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida. He is a member of the House Armed Services Committee, so he will be questioning top military officials today. He is an Army veteran and a colonel in the National Guard. He served in the U.S. military in Afghanistan and later ran a defense contracting firm that worked in Afghanistan as well. Good morning to you, sir. Hey, good morning. What else do you want to know? What else do you want to know today from Defense Secretary Austin, General Milley, and General McKenzie that you didn't hear yesterday? Well, there's a number of things. I think in general, we're seeing such a gulf between what generals recommended and where they think we are now, and where the White House is and where the president is. I mean, we heard yesterday that generals indeed recommended that we leave a stay-behind force and that we keep Bagram Air Force Base open. President Biden said that was not the case. President Biden said that we had no issues with our allies. We heard from generals and from General Milley that actually our credibility is severely damaged. We've heard President Biden say the war is over, but the generals say Al-Qaeda is actually still at war with us. We heard him say that we had to go out to deal with China. Yet we're hearing the generals say that actually having Bagram Air Force Base just a few hundred miles from the Chinese border would have been strategically incredibly important. And there it is. There it is, right there. The neocon coming out here saying that we might have to deal with China, so we want to occupy another country so we can launch airstrikes. And then finally, we're hearing him say that this was, the end of the day, a huge success and a strategic historic airlift. Yet I could tell you that Americans are still there and that I'm still in touch with, that I don't think this was a success. So it looks like at this point, it's basically just NPR is going to talk about the fact that this hearing happened. So Milley, Austin, and McKenzie all stood in front of the House yesterday. Like I said, there weren't as many fireworks this time through. That this wasn't as big of a deal as it was when they went in front of the Senate, and we didn't get a bunch of video clips, 1,000 video clips like we did with the Senate hearing. But still, there's definitely some stuff to look into here, some stuff to watch. So let's grab one from the Daily Wire to start with. I actually have two in a row from a Daily Wire, which I try not to do as hard as I can, but the informative one is here, and then the next one has video, which we're probably going to just skip to the video on that one. But reading here from Tim Pierce, General McKenzie scrapped Taliban offer to control Kabul during evac. I did not consider it a formal offer. General Frank McKenzie, head of the U.S. Central Command, confirmed on Wednesday that a top Taliban official offered the U.S. control of Kabul to conduct evacuation operations. McKenzie joined Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Capitol Hill Wednesday to testify in front of the House Armed Services Committee on the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. While taking questions from GOP Rep. Mike Gallagher, McKenzie confirmed, in part, a report from August that stated that Taliban leader Abdul Ghani Baradar offered the U.S. full control of Kabul. While evacuation operations were completed, the report from the Washington Post went on to claim that McKenzie and Baradar eventually agreed that the Taliban would control the city while the U.S. military would remain in control of Hamid Karzai International Airport. I met with Mullah Baradar on 15 August to pass a message to him that we were withdrawing, and if they attempted to disrupt that withdrawal, we would punish them severely for that, McKenzie began. But did he offer for you to have security over all of Kabul, not just the airport? Gallagher interjected. As part of the conversation, Baradar said, well, why don't you just take the security of all Kabul? That was not why I was there, that was not my instruction, and we did not have the resources to undertake that mission, McKenzie said. I do not consider that to be a formal offer, and it was not the reason why I was there, so I did not pursue it, he said in later questioning. Wow, really? Asked if the offer to remain in control of Kabul was relayed to President Biden, McKenzie stated the offer was made in the president's special representative to Afghanistan, before adding that he did not know if the offer was then reported to the White House. Dollars to dimes, I'm going to say no. Taliban control of Kabul hampered the U.S. forces' attempt to evacuate American citizens and allies in the final weeks of the U.S. war in Afghanistan. Taliban militants set up checkpoints that blocked citizens and Afghans from getting to the airport. The Taliban security did not stop ISIS-K terrorists from infiltrating the city and launching an attack on one of the airport's main gates.